Hello YouTube, this is Aiden here, and welcome to our fourth tutorial on the JSML GUI Framework tutorial series. So today we're going to be looking at taking all of our GUI that we made in the previous tutorials here, and looking at adding some functionality. So now we have all of this fancy components and whatnot, and we have our login/sign up screen. But I mean, if we click this button, we didn't do anything. We can't press enter, or we can't get the text in the text box. So today we're going to be looking at making things happen and tying our GUI components in with our Java code. So we're going to start by going into our controller Java class, which we made a while back. And we are going to look at implementing or overriding some of the methods in the window controller class. Oh, you notice that I did fix my imports. This is what your imports will look like, guys. So we're going to start out by giving this a public void init method. And this is not necessary to do this process. This is just how I like to do it. Oops. We'll see there. We're going to be looking at this in a second. And then I'm going to add an at override. And then do public void add component base component comp. And then we're going to do if comp dot get ID and then dot contains submit button. Alright, so let's talk about this. So remember before in our JSML file, we defined our button here. It has the ID of submit button. And so in our so now when we're getting this, we're getting the ID here. So how it works is basically each component of the GUI, each tag that you define here, after it is interpreted by the parser, each component is then iterated through, and it's going to be added to the controller instance that was passed into the framework in this method right here. So then it's going to call for each component that you have on your screen. It's going to call the add component method, and it's going to pass that in here. And so how we get it is it sets the ID beforehand. So if we get the ID of the comp, then of the component, I mean that is passed in here, then we can figure out what the component that's currently being passed into the controller class here is the component that we want to mess with or add functionality to. And there's also something else. You notice that I did contains here. I did not do dot equals in nor case. And the thing is, there's currently a bug in the alpha version of the framework that sometimes adds like a little space like right here and sometimes doesn't. And so to be safe, you can always just do dot contains. Unless you have two IDs that are like one contains the other, then you won't have to worry about that. I mean, dot equals sometimes works, but there's like a little error with that lately, and I think like the best practice is probably just to do dot contains. And so yeah, now we're getting our submit button, and if we wanted to, we could do, basic. This is actually we're gonna want to do button is equal to button. So basically, what we're doing here is we're casting. You're going to want to import it from the es.esy.swing_markup.component.button, not java.adbt or java.fx.scene. By the way, support an AD And so what this is the JSML GUI framework has objects for each of its different components, and they all are basically extended versions. They all inherit everything from the swing components, but they're much better. And so what you can do is you can pretty much invoke any method, or most of the methods, that can be invoked on the swing J button here. So I can do comp.add, oops, not comp, sorry. Because the comp here is a base component. And so the base component interface only has a bit of functionality, does not have too much. I think it just defines a few things that all components have. But if you want to actually access the button, then we need to cast this button into the the conf into the button. So we know that since we did this, we know that the submit button ID goes to a button widget. So we can now cast that in here. Now we can do button dot add action listener button dot add action listener, and then we can put in here new action listener. And here we can have that and do a little anonymous class here, so we can do public void action performed action event. There is actually a version of the DDoS that doesn't involve using the Java.awdt events. It's actually its own version, but that is not fully implemented yet, and so we don't have access to that, unfortunately, in the released version. And here we can just type like a sysout button clicked. And so now, when we run our tutorials here, notice when I click this here, I get the little message in the console, button clicked. So yeah, so we know this stuff we actually can call action performed. So what we can also do is maybe have, actually before we move on, I want to talk to you guys about this init method here that I added. So if you want to have your controller do things at the exact startup of like access things and mess with things at the exact startup of the GUI, you want to put this, I'll do something like what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to do like, I mean, you can have whatever you want here. Like maybe for this login sign up, I would have like a query a database that stores all the login information and store it into variables here that I can access when the button is pressed. But in this case, I'm not going to bother. I mean, that's beyond the scope of this tutorial, obviously. So I'll just say GUI started, and this obviously won't work by itself. Oopsie. But what we can do is go into our main.java, and on launch we can do, actually before we do that, we're going to want to do this, controller, and I'm actually going to make these both private, oopsie, private, and then down here we'll just say this dot controller instead of new controller, which is, I'll go ahead and make this equal to a new controller for that matter. Otherwise it won't work, obviously. And then, yeah, so then down here on the launch method, we can call controller dot init. So what that will do is exactly when the GUI started, it'll print out GUI started. So go ahead and put that, and you'll set it press GUI started down here, and then we can click our button. Oh, I took that out, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Okay. So yeah, that's just how, if you want to have any kind of code upon the launch of your GUI, then that goes in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is maybe I'll add some functionality to the, actually we can look at getting some of the other components. So let's say maybe outside of this, if or else if comp.getID.contains, and then here, what did we call it again? It was username. We could say text field is equal to new text field, or not new text field, sorry. There is equal to text field and then comp. So I don't know what else is in there. And then again, you want to import it from the es.esy.swingmarkup.component package here. So you notice that that's really necessary. Okay. Otherwise, it will not work. You add your semicolon, and then we can say yeah, we want to do is say we can have like a variable up here, like private string username text is equal to the string, and then down here we could just say, actually not something we won't want to do that. We want to do private text field username, and then down here we could just say username is equal to text field comp. And then now over here, I can username dot get text. And what that will do is when the button is clicked, it will print out the text currently stored in the username field. So if I type in here, I can type turtle and then press submit. Strange. Why didn't that work? That was the correct ID, right? I'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, I think I figured it out. The problem is that you'll notice that if we open up our layout.json file here, the ID is username, and the ID for the second layout.json also has username. So what is going on is first, the interpreter is calling this method here for the first username widget in the layout.json file, and now it's setting this to that. And then it's going through and it's going to continue its iteration, and when it gets to the username text field in the second layout.jsml, it's going to set this again, and it's going to call this method again, and it's going to set it this. So now the username is now equal to the second one. So to prove that, I suppose I could go in here and try cancel. Oh, cancel real quick. Let me do that. All right. Go in here and I could click. If I think this will work if I just type turtle in here, submit, and I did not spell turtle correctly, but it did print out. So yeah, but over here it's not working because this username here is not equal to the first one, it's equal to the second one. So we want to do to fix this is give this a different name, like, I don't know, username sign up, and this one would be username login. And so then we could say username login. Oopsie. Then I could do this and run it, and you'll notice that if I type giraffe in here, it's meant it prints a giraffe out. So yeah, that will fix that. And what we could do here is also add in, so we're going to want to do that with the same thing with the password. So password login, and password sign up, and then confirm login. Oh, that's sign up. Confirm sign up, and oh, I don't have silly me. I don't have to confirm over here. Okay. So else if comp dot get ID dot contains username password, but I could have another private text field password up here, and I could say this dot password equal to text field comp. And so now I could say over here, if username dot get text equals, or I can do probably dot equals case turtle and password dot get text dot equals ignore case 123, sits out login successful, and then else sits out login failed. And then here I'll just run this, and you'll notice that it doesn't work until I type in turtle, and 123. And then something just goes completely wrong. Interesting. Java line 33. Bizarre. I wonder why that's doing that. Oh, you know what? Password is not a text field. My bad again. So I'm pretty sure password field is an extension of text, but maybe not. Maybe not. Alright. We're gonna imports. And oh, so I don't think get text exists. But what can I get? Get turns the text contain, yeah. And then I think I need to change this to something else as well. Oh, what the heck? Clips does this weird thing sometimes where it does stuff like that. Equals, and can I toss that in? Okay, apparently I can. And then maybe I can type 1, 2, 3 here. That might work. And then here I can type turtle, and down here I can type 1, 2, 3. It's a bit. Did type 1, 2, 3, right? Yeah. It's weird going on here. I'll be right back, guys. You guys are probably laughing at me. I can't think today, and I typed username password over here. It should be password login. That should be correct. And then I can type. Yeah, that should work. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, now it says login successful. I was wondering why it did not have my colors or fonts in place. We need to go back to our style sheet here and change this to username login and password login, and then we have to separately style everybody else. So now when I run this, I should have my good old fonts and colors. That's nice. So you guys can obviously, do whatever you want with this. If you're actually making a login screen, you'd obviously be querying a database and getting login information, and you would actually have a sign up to have work and do stuff. But I'm just, this is just an example. I hope you guys understand how everything worked. Actually, do this stuff in. Why not? Password login. Okay. So yeah. So I'll just, just to recap. In order to, give me a second. I really do not like the warning that Eclipse gives you. So yeah, just to recap, you want to have your add component method from the window controller class in the swingmarkup.core package, and we override that, and you're going to get the ID. Remember to have .contains. I will let you guys know if at some point in the future you can actually, it's safe to use .equals or ignore case. But for now, you have to have .contains, and then just make sure that you can somehow distinguish between your IDs. And then you're going to want to cast that component here into whatever object there is. So just to go over, there are objects are just, usually they're right exactly what you type here, just with cases, but actually I will let you know that if you want to do a label, you would actually have to type, like, label is the class name for that. But it looks pretty much the same. Again, if you want to learn more about that, just email me and ask me for another video, or just leave a comment saying, "Hey, I'd like to know more." There's also, I don't think the documentation covers too much of the Java side of things. We will look at that a little bit more in the next video, though. So, I think that's all for today. Hope you guys understood. Like, comment, subscribe. Please let me know what you think, what you want to see more of. I'd be happy to do pretty much anything. So, yeah. So sorry for the few mess ups I had today, guys. I usually don't make this many mistakes, but sometimes, make some mistakes. So take it easy, guys.